Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today I want to talk about the Timeless 2. Now this IEM is honestly really special because it kind of defined planar IEMs, meaning planar magnetic IEMs. The first ones that were really popular were made by Odyssey, and they were over $1,000 to $2,000, and they were really expensive. But when Timeless came out with their first version of this IEM, it was like $230. And so it was a lot cheaper than the competition, but it was also tuned really well. I think that was the most important thing. A lot of planars, including the older ones like the Odyssey and stuff like that, they weren't really tuned that well. And so you're able to get something that was essentially like, in some cases, 1/10 the price, but it was actually tuned better as well. And I think it really kind of shook the market. And it also showed a lot of people that, you can achieve something this good at this price. And after the first Timeless 1 was kind of released, basically a bunch of companies started copying them. They released a bunch of IEMs that were planar IEMs, which had wildly different tunings, but it was kind of like other people trying to capitalize on this new train, this new hype. And so it was very interesting. So I have a few of those that came out. And I'll be comparing it. So this is the Chozu P20. This thing also came out around the same price, around $200 as well. And then we have this RD-T10. This is actually a really good budget one. It's like, actually, the measurements of the tuning is actually very similar to Timeless, but this thing is like, $70. And so it's a lot cheaper, but the performance of it is a little different. The Timeless is clearly more expensive, and you can tell that the driver is actually more detailed and is actually better. So in some ways, yeah, the Timeless definitely shows you why it's priced more. And then we also have, other IEMs that are kind of in the $200 price point that I want to compare it to, which is the Odyssey right here. And then we have the Zagat Arete, which I would say is a very similar tuned IEM to the Timeless, honestly. They're kind of, I guess upper mid forward type of sound. So it's kind of like the same thing with multi-drivers, while this one has this big like 14mm planar driver in it. The good thing about this is it has one big driver. So the big driver gives it, a bigger sound stage. I always find that these planar drivers do sound the most headphone-like experience, in my opinion, because they're really they're really big drivers, so they just sound like they're kind of out of your head, which gives you honestly the closest to like a headphone-like sound, in my opinion. And the other thing about the planar drivers is, of course, because it's tuned well and it's only a single driver, they don't have to do any type of like phase and tuning between like the multi-drivers, so any like crossovers and stuff like that. So for all this like kind of testing, I've been using the iFi Go Link Max. I mean, I really like this. It just seems like the best like budget type of IEM type of thing to use. Honestly, I use it for my headphones testing too. It's just really nice that, USB-C into your phone, lots of power, balanced, single-ended, and it sounds just really good, honestly. So I really do like testing stuff with that. So yeah, let's talk about the build quality of the Timeless 2. So you can see this nice black finish it has, and it has this like almost pattern that's like really cool. When you kind of move in the light, it kind of changes the shade. I mean, honestly, it's a very cool type of shell. I really kind of dig it. Then of course the cable it comes with is also this like shiny, like metallic type of cable. I think it looks really good. And it actually comes with a balanced head, but you can also swap the head out because it comes with a swappable cable in which you can kind of turn it and then replace it with like a single ended. So the case it comes with kind of continues that like hexagonal type of look to it. Like, damn, this looks kind of cool. And it's all metal too. Like, I've never seen such a nice, like, honestly, case. And then you turn it off, and they actually come with a lot of earbuds. So they have like a variety. So they got these like red ones that come with, and then they also have a whole nother batch of more earbuds. So like they come with a lot of accessories, a lot of different earbuds to try. And of course, here's a swappable cable like I was talking about, where you can kind of use it to kind of, take it off, and you just pull it out and we can replace it, so you can use your cable as single end or balanced. So like that's a really nice thing to have, especially at this price point. I think that's a really nice addition to it. They covered everything when it comes to accessories. Like, this is honestly the best package I've actually seen at like this price or just anywhere. They really give you like all of it. So I'm actually using the stop tips. I tried a bunch of tips, but I find the stock tips just to be the best sounding one. They sound really good. The kind of mid-range comes out pretty well. You get a lot of the treble too. I'd say maybe the like mid treble is maybe a little reduced in this one, but overall I feel like the tuning of this is really nice. It's very vocal forward, female vocal kind of focus type of tuning. When it comes to like the build, as you can see, this thing has this nice like flat plate. It's very kind of large on the outside, but then they kind of contour it into your ear on the inside. So overall, I find it pretty comfortable. It doesn't really stick out too much, so I find it to be, you know, a bit closer to my ear. Feels like it has a nice like metal outside shell, and then the inside feels like a little bit of plastic right here. But yeah, I feel like this IEM design and aesthetic wise, it's just very shiny, very classy looking. I think this will jive with a lot of people. It's very inoffensive, but kind of cool and classy, right? The other thing I want to show you is the alternate tips that you can actually put on there. So they have another kind of 3 different ones you can put. And then obviously a set for both sides. So this actually changes the sound. So I'll kind of show you guys some of the measurements that have been made about it. So let's talk about the thing that everyone's actually interested about, right? It's sound, right? So how does the timeless sound? I've actually heard the first one as well at some shows, but having this second one in, you know, my studio and actually being able to listen to this and spend a lot of time, the tuning on this is honestly excellent. Like you get a nice bass boost on this. So, you know, you get a nice sub bass and it actually sounds like it's lifted. I feel like that's part about the timeless that I feel like is pretty exceptional, that they somehow achieve a boosted bass with this type of sound. And then the other thing that kind of stands out to me as well is that kind of forward female vocal mid-range. I really do feel like it makes vocals sound really good, very forward, very lively. I feel like that's an aspect that I like a lot. I feel like if you look at a lot of kind of measurement graphs, it's like the vocals this sound more accurate to me than the measurement graph of like what people think is like the popular target. I feel like I do prefer it forward when I listen to like headphones, like, you know, the HD 600, which has the very forward vocals. It sounds more similar like that with this type of tuning. And then when you listen to speakers, it also sounds more like this. So I feel like the tuning wise, I really do like kind of how it presents like the female vocals. Honestly, they sound really good. And I feel like that's probably one of the best aspects of this. You know, there's the kind of the new meta is what people call it for the new tuning, where kind of the mid-range is kind of pushed more forward. Essentially it's less V-shaped sounding. I feel like that could potentially help the timeless a little bit, but honestly, it's not that big of a difference. I think overall in the tuning, it's honestly very excellent. I would say the only area that probably could be improved for me is like the mid treble. I'm talking about like a very minor improvement, like they could fill it in just a tiny bit. But honestly, when it comes to just a well-tuned IEM, this one definitely falls in that category. This is one of the best tuned IEMs I've heard, honestly, with the great technicals of a planar magnetic. This thing sounds honestly amazing. So you get that fun bassy sound with that forward vocals. And I mean, I would say the treble is slightly forward, right in the upper mid range where like the female vocals are. That could be a little bit like forward for some people, but I find it overall to be really good. The big planars give you that big sound stage, and then when it comes to like imaging, so like, you know, I play a lot of games like Valorant, but mostly I've been playing Marvel Rivals lately, and in that game and in Valorant, I noticed that the imaging is pretty good. I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I would say it's not just like laser precise as it is on something like the Odyssey and the Rete, but honestly, I didn't really have an issue using it in general. So I think it's very good for gaming, but I would say if you're looking for the better one at the same price point, I would say these are better at gaming. I just feel like these have just a little bit better sense of like the 3D space. It really sounds a little bit more 3D on these than this one. This one just sounds a little bit more, I guess, thin. It's instead of like a sphere type of sound, this one just sounds a little bit thinner, a little bit more linear sounding. So I do enjoy these ones better for imaging. However, overall, I feel like this, at least in the soundstage size, it actually sounds just bigger and taller than even these two. So I feel like there's some benefits of this. And honestly, when it comes to tuning, I did notice a lot that like, you know, the Timeless 2 and the Rete sound very similar. They really push for that female vocal sound. I really do actually like that. And compared to the Odyssey, I feel like the female vocals almost sound muted in comparison. And so in that sense, I enjoy the Timeless more. But then when you get to kind of, I would say, I guess the mid treble, right? That's where I feel like the Odyssey does a little bit better. I actually think this one has better treble than even the Rete too. Honestly, it sounds just a little bit more forward as well and a little bit more filled out. So I also like that aspect of this as well. And then compared to like the Shozu and the RT T10, I would say the Shozu, honestly, at the same price that this was selling at, I wouldn't honestly buy it. I think it's discounted like $70. At $70, the T10 sounds better tuned than even this Shozu. So I feel like the Shozu just gets kind of outclassed by both of these. And then when it comes to like the RDT10, it's actually funny because like in some ways, like the tuning are kind of very similar if you're looking on a graph. This one actually sounds like almost it has the vocals even more forward and slightly even more filled out, but you can definitely tell the difference in like the technical performance. Like you hear the same note played, it just sounds faster, tighter, and cleaner on the Timeless 2 in comparison to RD. But obviously RD is like, you know, a third of the price, or I mean, sometimes you can find it for like a fourth of the price, honestly. So, you know, you're definitely not spending as much on the RDT10. To me, if I had to choose between these two, obviously the Timeless is the one I would go for. You just get a lot more, but it's a lot more expensive, so it's understandable, right? But anyways, that kind of leads me to conclusion. Like, I feel like the Timeless 2 is kind of just an improvement of the Timeless 1. And I feel like the Timeless 1, a lot of people were chasing after it, trying to beat it. And I feel like after all this time, I don't really find much that's honestly better than Timeless 2. I've also reviewed other brands like Moondrop's version of it, and some of these planars are very bright sounding and like sibilant in the treble, and they weren't very that like comfortable in that sense. I feel like the Timeless really does it really well of giving a nice tuning without overdoing the treble and being like bright sounding, or at least too bright sounding. So I would say the Timeless 3 still, after all this time, it set the standard, started the hype. I feel like it still holds on to the lead, to be honest, at least from my experience. So the Timeless 2, you know, if you're actually interested, I definitely would pick one up if you're looking for a planar magnetic. I'll leave links down below to, I guess Linsol did send this out to me. So if you guys are interested, I'll leave links to Linsol. And yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.